I want to show you a demonstration of what is the right way to wear foundation, concealer, blusher on one side of the face, and I'm going to show you some really common mistakes on the other side of my face. So the general look that I'm aiming for is that of fresh, real, healthy, glowing skin. Not caked, not baked, not snatched, sculpted, contoured, etc. But really makeup that's very true to me. So real makeup for real life. So the first mistake that I see people make when they wear foundation is they get the wrong tone. Now, a lot of the time people are wary of going too light, too dark. That's the kind of, people feel like that's the benchmark of what is considered a mistake in foundation, whereas actually you need to know whether it's the right depth for you, so too light, too dark, just right. But to get the true Goldilocks of foundation, it needs to be the right tone. So I'm going to show you the most common mistake that people make is going too yellow with their foundation. So I am using a foundation from my kit. It's not a terrible foundation at all. It's a foundation that I use on a lot of people when they are this colour, and it's 1.2Y, so it is a yellow tone. So I'm going to apply this to this side of my face, exactly as I would my regular foundation. A light sheer veil. It's a very common skin tone shade. It's one of their best-selling shades. I've put far too much out because I've put enough out for the whole of my face. So why would people pick this colour? Well, there's a few reasons. First of all, you've got people that believe that everyone has a yellow undertone to their skin. That's true for some of the population. But then you've also got people who have gone to makeup counters and who have been colour matched to this shade. And you've got people who have been told that if you have a pink tone or a red tone to your skin, you need to neutralise it by using a yellow tone foundation. Now, the first thing I see when I look at that is that looks hideous, but that makes me look very, very drawn. There is no correlation between that, and I'm in natural daylight here, between that and my body. And you can see how yellow that is against my body. But this is a colour that, believe me, when I've gone into foundations to be colour matched, because I've wanted to try a new foundation, I've been put in. And they've stepped back and said, that's perfect. Let me show you my actual foundation shade. So this is a Giorgio Armani foundation. Doesn't matter that it's a better foundation, or it's not necessarily, it's just that this is the perfect shade for me. You see, that is just disappearing into my skin. I'm not taking this around my eyes because I'm going to show you good concealer and bad concealer. This foundation is shade 4.75 if anyone's interested. And it is their kind of fair light to medium, I think, cool tone. Now straight away, there is so much more synergy here. This is very modern looking. I think this is I see this everywhere. In fact, this would need to be blended right up over those ears and literally like back. I'd need to stop blending this like boobs. This, I don't have to blend. It is just seamless. And I've got just the same amount on, two kind of very similar brushes. So I use two words when I talk about colour, when colour works. I talk about something feeling off and something feeling like home. This is home. There's synergy. It just looks like me. This looks disconnected. It's off. I'm going to have to rescue this with a lot of makeup afterwards. But let me show you, first of all, I'm going to show you the right way to conceal. Let's start right and then go wrong before we get on to anything else. So I'm using a concealer that is, again, an Armani concealer, and it is the exact match to the foundation. And I am putting this on the areas of my face and around my eyes that are dark. So that's in there, and just a touch here where I've got a little vein. And I'm just going to gently press that in with my finger. And what I'm aiming to do here is ever so slightly brighten up my under eye, but also just bring it in line with the rest of my face. Right? The most common mistake I see people make with concealer is this. I've got a concealer here. It is a Revolution Conceal and Define in the shade C3. And I see people do this. Makes me feel a bit sick even doing this. Right, I'm going to blend this in with a brush because there's a lot of product on here. So they go all the way up to here as a highlight. And they blend all the way down here. And they ignore this dark section in here. I'm going to blend this in because I can't bear to leave it. That looks subtly concealed. I'm not trying to pretend that there's no movement around my eyes. I'm just going to take a touch more. But I'm not trying to make this whole area bright white. So that is, I don't think that's very flattering. You can see that's going to sit in all those lines. Here, I haven't really got any product on that bit. A tiny little bit on that vein. That looks drier than that. Okay, next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to powder. Now, I'm not going to bake. Actually, yes, I will. Let me show you the way that I powder. This is Uberlucent One Powder Wonder from Beauty Pie. I'm taking a brush and I'm being very specific with where I want this. I want matteness on the T-zone, and I'm going to take the tip of my brush and I will very gently press that under my eye. Then I'm going to take a sponge. I'm going to pick up a load of powder and I'm going to use this really heavily to bake kind of along here. So the end result when you do this, just dry, it's cakey, it's powdery. This is just as set, excuse me, as this. Now, let me show you some bronzing mistakes. So I'm gonna have to use two separate brushes for this because I don't want to get the wrong bronzing product. I'm going to use this. I'm going to go incorrect first. So this is the wrong shade bronzer for me. This is a lovely bronzer. I do not tan this colour. This is too orange for me. It's going to look muddy. It's going to look artificial. But what I see people doing with bronzer is using it as a contour. And that just does not look like a shadow. I could show you how to contour, and then a load up here. Oh, and then this. Just got myself in the eye with it. The brush is punishing me. This would look good in black and white photography. The tones are all wrong. It's just jarring. It's not flattering. Let me show you how I bronze. Make sure I don't accidentally use the same brush. So my bronzer is much more skin toned. If you're cool toned, this is an amazing bronzer. This is a Studio 10 bronzer. And I'm going to take this really lightly a light hand up at the top of the forehead, blending up into my grey hairs. But on the cheeks, I'm not sculpting with this because this is not a contour colour. So I'm actually using this on top of my cheekbones because a bronzer is there to give you warmth, to add life to your skin, to give you, to mimic what happens when you catch the sun. This looks fresher, it looks healthier. I'm going to take a little bit down my neck. This is also a brilliant shade to take through the crease. I'd love to sculpt my eye a little bit with this. Okay. Where I've highlighted, used highlight, I've used my concealer as highlighter. Let me show you how to use highlighter properly with something that isn't necessarily tinted or lighter, but something that is ever so slightly reflective. And so that highlight is just caught very softly where you need it. I'm going to take a tiny little bit of this just to catch the light up there. I'm not going to highlight my nose because not everybody needs to. So with this side of my face, I feel like what I need to do is rescue my face. I need to, it's too yellow. It's too brown. I need to put some warmth back, some life back into my skin. So what I often find that people that wear the wrong tone foundation have to do, when I talk about rescuing a foundation, is they're having to put the colour that is in their skin back in there somehow. So often you'll see people having to use a lot of blusher to bring it back in, right? So you may be looking at that and thinking, that is awful. I think that's really jarring. I just think it looks really false. I'm hoping that you can see this. But it's not actually the blusher that's incorrect. It's everything that's underneath it. Because if I show you this blusher, I'm just using a different brush because I've got bronzer, the old bronzer on that. If I use this lovely blusher on here, same amount, going to go for quite a rosy flush. It's not jarring because it's not being used to rescue the foundation. It's just an extension of the skin. It's a soft flush because underneath skin tone is really, really important. And then I'm going to show you let's see if I can find an incorrect lipstick. I probably can't because I don't tend to keep them around. This lipstick is a lovely lipstick colour, but it's a touch too pink for me on this side. It matches the blusher, but it jars against the yellow and the bronze of this foundation. Whereas here, much more seamless, fits in, blends in, because you've got all of those sort of similar undertones. I'm just going to give that a slight blot. I find this side really distracting. So there you have it. I think before you try and figure out if you're light, medium or dark, before you try and figure out the texture of your skin, before you try and figure out which brand to go for or the application or the coverage that you want, you need to figure out your undertone, because this looks a lot worse in real life than it does on camera. I can, believe me, this is easy to achieve. Real skin is easy to achieve. And if you're having any issues with your foundation, first of all, download the foundation guide, troubleshooting guide that I have. I'll put a link actually in the description of this video for that. But one of the things is check your colour tone, check your colour family, figure that out. We cover all of that over in my members club. Happy at any point to talk you through what else is in there. But that is one of the key things. It's like one of the first things you need to figure out along with your skin type. I hope that's been helpful. I'm about to take this off straight away because it makes me feel very uncomfortable. Any questions, just shoot me a message or an email and I will hopefully be able to guide you on your way to perfect foundation.